Hello, Namaste and welcome to Brahmanic Astrology. Please confirm audio and video is clear so that we can start. Audio is clear, audio and video is clear. Please confirm. Okay, great. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about Saturn's transit into Aquarius for all the ascendant. Audio is clear or not? Okay, let me check the settings. Audio. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Now it is clear. Hello. Is audio clear? Okay, so welcome to this live stream. Today we are going to discuss about Saturn's transit into the sign of Aquarius for all the ascendant. Okay, we will discuss each ascendant and we will discuss about what are the other planets and what are the laws and what exactly is happening for each ascendant. And if you have any queries or questions around this, please share your questions into the comment section. Once we complete that, we will cover all your questions as well. Okay. And if don't spam with your questions, just ask your questions once so that I'll be able to read them easily. Okay. And don't put it multiple times. Otherwise, I will have to go through all the questions again and it will take a lot of time. Okay. So let's talk about the Aries ascendant. Now, if you look at Aries ascendant is Saturn is going into the 11th house and is conjunct with Mars, and Mars is ruling the first and the 8th house. So Saturn is moving from the 10th house to the 11th house. Okay, so wherever Saturn goes, it makes you work. It brings in responsibilities and duties around that house. So 11th house is also the house of pleasures. Okay, so the Saturn is aspecting the first house from the house of pleasure, and more so, the 10th lord is going into the 11th house. 10th lord going into 11th house is a great combination. Like it is like a dhanasthan to the 10th house and a gain and a house of gain. Okay, and Saturn is a planet of karma. So Saturn ruling the first house, ruling the 10th house, going into the 11th house, and is aspecting the first house. Okay, so it shows a rise in your status during this time. This period will also make you disciplined. Okay, and when it conjuncts with the Mars, it brings in a lot of new things and big things in this area of your life. Okay, because if you look at this, the nakshatra is Dhanishta, which is also ruled by Saturn. Excuse me, which is also ruled by Mars. Okay, so Mars is very important during this transit. Okay, one more thing which is important in this transit is Saturn is aspecting the Aries, and you have Rahu transiting through the Aries. Okay, so the Rahu, the planet of future, is the planet of confusion, the planet of foreign things. All these things is getting into your first house. So you will have transformation. You will have makeover of your personality. You will change your personality, especially with your physical appearance or perspective towards life. You will have a different perspective. And Saturn applying, aspecting this first house will bring in a lot of changes in your career as well, and a lot of new things. It will take you away from your comfort zone. Okay. So yes, we in a transit video which we made earlier, we have not considered the placement of Rahu and the Jupiter. Okay, for Aries ascendant, Jupiter is traveling through the 12th house. Saturn is going through the 11th house, and Rahu is going through the first house. So all these three planets are bringing in a lot of changes. Jupiter in the 12th house makes you plan your next 12 years. Okay, it will make you put money into the spiritual practices, into the religious donations. Okay, because 12th house is the house of expense. Jupiter is a planet of expansion and spiritual guidance. So you will spend money on the spiritual donations. Okay, so this is the story for Aries ascendant. Okay, the Saturn is going from the 10th to the 11th. Very good placement. Now let's talk about the Taurus ascendant. And can anybody put the timestamps? Okay, so let's do it. Now for Taurus ascendant, just stop sharing, go to this. Just okay. Now, for Taurus ascendant, Saturn itself is a Yoga Karaka planet. What is a Yoga Karaka planet? When a planet is ruling the trinal house and a Kendra house at the same time, it becomes a Yoga Karaka planet. It is one of the rules. Okay. So for Taurus ascendant, Saturn is ruling the trinal house of ninth house, and it is also ruling the 11th house because the sign of Aquarius comes into the 10th house. So the ninth house and the 10th house are ruled by Saturn. So one Kendra, one trine is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn becomes Yoga Karaka planet for Taurus ascendant. So wherever Saturn is placed in for Taurus ascendant, it will give you good results. It will bring in the positive side of the Saturn, that is discipline, work, and growth, success. All these things can be seen with Taurus ascendant. Okay, and whenever there is a connection between the ninth lord with the 10th lord, it shows rise in the career. Okay, because ninth house is the house of Bhagya, 10th house is the house of rise, and this more so, the 10th house is the second to the ninth. So the karma house is supporting the Bhagya, is bringing in the financial support to your Bhagya, right, through the karma. Okay, so with Saturn, it is aspecting the third house. Third aspect is aspecting the Rahu in the second, Rahu in the 12th house. With the fourth aspect, with the seventh aspect is aspecting the fourth house. With the 10th house aspecting the seventh house. Okay, and again, the Saturn in Aquarius, Jupiter in Pisces, and Rahu into the Aries in the 12th house. Okay, so this will make you travel during this time because Rahu is in the 12th house, and the Jupiter in the 11th house will make you, have pleasures in your life. Okay, you will spend good times with your friends. Okay, and with the 10th house aspect, this Saturn is aspecting this the 7th house, which is the house of marriage. So it will bring a lot of responsibilities around marriage as well. But the 7th house is also 10th from the 10th, right? So this Aquarius Saturn aspecting the 7th house, which is 10th from the 10th, will lead to the rise in your career. It will give you responsibility. It will make you work to get recognition in your sphere of fame. Okay. Now let's talk about Gemini. Now, so for Gemini ascendant, Saturn is ruling the 8th and the 9th. Jupiter is in the 10th and Rahu is in the 11th. You will observe that Saturn, Jupiter, and Rahu are placed in the adjacent houses. Okay, so these three major planets are placed in 11, 12, and first sign. Okay, so all the signs opposite to them are in focus. That is Virgo, Leo, and Libra. 5, 6, 7. Okay, is always in focus. Now, with Saturn in the 11th, Saturn in the Aquarius sign in the 9th house, aspects the 11th house of gains. What it shows is, it shows that you will have restriction on your gains because of your belief system. You believe certain things in life, and that is restricting you from gaining. Okay, let's say you got an opportunity abroad. Okay, but due to your religious belief, you feel that you cannot travel outside your homeland. You should not travel outside your homeland, right? And because you have that belief, you're not able to get that job, and you're not getting that opportunity, and you are denying that desires, that gains. Okay, so the restriction on gains due to belief system can be seen with for the Gemini ascendant person. Gemini, and whenever I'm saying ascendant, it also means it also shows the moon as well. And ninth house placement of Saturn in the Aries sign also shows that a lot of travel. Okay, and air element is ruled by Saturn. You won't believe, but this intelligent air element, and which is social, is ruled by Saturn. Usually we think that it is more like a Mercurian qualities, which are like air element, but air element is ruled by Saturn. Okay, so yes, now let's look at the Cancer ascendant. Yes, for Cancer ascendant, Saturn is ruling the 7th and the 8th house. Now Saturn is traveling through the 8th house, and it aspects the 10th house with its third aspect, second house with its 7th aspect, and the 5th house with its 10th house aspect. Okay, so 8th house Saturn will exhaust you through work, and is a very good placement for asset making. And Saturn aspecting the 10th house, where Rahu is already placed in. Rahu loves the open sky of the 10th house, because the Saturn, the Rahu is the planet which is about confusion, but he likes the clarity of the 10th house, wide open, and it does well into the 10th house. He accepts the new responsibilities. So Rahu in the sign of Aries is a very good placement to, with respect to your work. You will accept new responsibilities at work. Okay. So yes, this was Cancer ascendant. Now let's look at the Leo ascendant. Okay, once we finish this, we'll take all your questions. Now Saturn is going through the 7th house and is aspecting the ascendant, the 9th house, and the 10th house, the 4th house. Okay, so 3 of the Kendra houses are getting impacted by Saturn in the 1st house, Saturn in the 7th house. Okay, and again, this displacement will make you travel for your work. Okay, because 7th house is also the house of travel, and 9th house Rahu will add to these travels. Okay, but at the same time, I would recommend you to take enough sleep, and during this time you might tend to be awake all night and work. Okay, 7th house is critical. 7th house is not just about the relationship, it is about the foreign travel and career as well. Always remember this. Usually we don't take into consideration with this signification, but yes, it does have an impact with respect to those areas. Okay, and for Leo ascendant, Jupiter is going through the 8th house. Okay, we talked about the Saturn and Rahu, but Jupiter going through the 8th house will draw your attention towards the mystical things in life. The planet of wisdom goes into the hidden house. So this house, this Jupiter placement will make you go deep into the mystical and occult subjects like astrology or psychology and alternate healings and all kinds of things you will go through during this time. Let's talk about the Virgo ascendant. Okay, for Virgo, it is going through the 6th house and is aspecting the 8th house, the 3rd house, and the 12th house. Okay, so Jupiter in the 7th house is saving the Virgo people here, Virgo ascendant. You know, the Rahu in the 8th house of the hidden house, in the occult and mystical house, and Saturn is aspecting there. Okay, so it will make you dig down into these subjects with altogether new perspective about them. Okay, so yes, we have completed the first 6 lagnas. Now, for the next 6 lagnas, we will talk about it once we get there. Let's go through the questions now. Okay. Libra Lagna, Venus in the 11th, Leo, and Mars Rahu in the 1st house. So Libra Lagna, Mars Rahu in the 1st, Jupiter in the 2nd, Mercury in the 12th, which is a Libra Lagna, right? Okay. Now let's talk about the Libra Lagna. Okay. So what was your question? Libra Lagna, Venus, Sun in 11th house of Leo, Mars Rahu in the 1st house, Shani in the 5th, Jupiter in the 2nd, Mercury in the 12th, Moon in the 3rd. Dasha, how is it for marriage? Already married. We cannot do the reading here. Let's talk about the Libra Lagna here. Okay, Libra ascendant, Saturn is transiting through the 5th house. Okay, aspecting the 7th house, where Rahu is transiting in the sign of Aries with the 5th connection. Okay, so what it shows is it will make you work towards your relationship, because 5th house is also love and romance, and 7th house is also a relationship house. So what it does is it makes you either not interested into the relationship, or it will make you work towards your relationship. Like, you are trying to look for a partner during this time desperately, because you're making conscious effort for that. Okay, and you might have a partner which is foreign to your culture, which is Rahu in the 7th. Okay, so always see you have planets in the 5th house. I'm not able to visualize it, Mili Jain, I'm sorry. I'm not able to visualize your chart. I'm not able to impose that here. But yes, you always have to look for the planets placed in here. If you have any planet placed into the signs Aquarius, Scorpio, and Aries, that will really help you to understand this transit even more. Okay, we have one more question around the Libra ascendant. Libra ascendant Shani in the 12th house with Mars, but comes to 11th house in Chalit. We already made videos on this, but okay, if you have any question around this transit, we can always discuss. Tell us about Ishta Devata. Yes, I will make a video on Ishta Devata. Definitely. Freaking awesome. Hello, hello, freaking awesome. Okay, now let's talk about the Scorpio ascendant. Okay, so Scorpio ascendant. Do we have any question around Scorpio ascendant? Okay, so for Scorpio is going through the 4th house and aspecting the ascendant. Again, in this scenario as well, this aspecting the three Kendra houses, the 1st house, the 10th house, and the 4th house. Okay, and what we have to do is the most important thing to understand is if you have any planet in the sign of Aquarius, this will change the dynamic of the interpretation. Okay, it will make you uh, it will it will alter the interpretation. Let's say you have Rahu placed into the sign of Aquarius, and now Saturn comes in there, is altogether different if you have Jupiter placed into the sign of Aquarius in your natal chart, and Saturn comes into the sign of Aquarius. Okay, so always give importance to planets already placed into the sign of the transit which you are looking. Okay, in this case, it's coming in Aquarius. So look for the planets placed into the sign of Aquarius. Okay, and one more thing, when we are looking for these uh, transits, always look for the focal point. We'll talk about that later, but it's the most important part when we discuss the transit. Okay, now let's talk about the sign of Sagittarius. Yes. So for Sagittarius ascendant, Saturn is going through the 3rd house. Okay, and it is aspecting the 5th house, the 12th house, and the 9th house. Okay, 3rd house Saturn is a very good placement because the planet of karma comes into the house which is about the self effort, and Saturn loves to take effort. Saturn loves to work. Okay, so what it shows is you will be working on the things which you love. Okay, will, yeah, 3rd house is also the house of your heart wishes, your hobbies, right? And 5th house is also about the third from the 3rd. So all these two houses are getting impacted by this Saturn. So this Saturn will make you work towards your heart wishes. Okay. talk about the Capricorn ascendant now. Yes, for Capricorn ascendant, Saturn is going through the second house, and this will be the last phase of the Sarasati for Capricorn people. Okay, this is 2.5 months transit, so it's like a teaser. Okay, you will have an idea about what's happening into the next year when it will go. It will come a retrograde into the sign of Capricorn, and once again it will become direct and go to the Aquarius. That would be the real transit of that Saturn. Okay. So yes, in the second house is the house of your families, so it will bring a lot of responsibilities around that family house, and aspecting the fourth house, which is the house of your emotional stability. So it will make you emotionally disturbed and will make you work towards the financial needs. Okay, or the second house is 11th to the 4th, so it also shows gains for your mother. Okay, so this was Capricorn ascendant. Now let's talk about the Aquarius ascendant, most important, because for this ascendant, Saturn is transiting through the ascendant. Okay, now Saturn is going through ascendant and aspecting the 7th and the 10th house. Okay, and impacting the 3 of the Kendra houses. So the sign of Leo has all the focus because it has the aspect of the Saturn, Mars, and the lot of it is also connected with the Rahu, the North Node. Okay, so for Aquarius ascendant, this is an important time because now the Saturn is over your moon. In 2029, it was the beginning of a Sarasati when it has entered into the January 2020, when it entered into the sign of Capricorn. It was the beginning of it. Now we are into the second 2.5 years of Sarasati. Okay, this is the time which will make you mentally tough. The 12th house is about the burden. Now this is the real growth part of it. Whenever you have a Sarasati, people oftentimes get scared of Sarasati, but Sarasati is the period of growth. Sarasati is a period of travel. Okay, you won't believe that, but most of the times you will travel a lot during your Sarasati. Why? Because the Saturn in the 12th house. 12th house is the house of the losses, things which we have to give in this birth, right? The loss to the self, the first house, right? So you do selfless service, or you travel for some obligations you need to pay long back obligations, or the travels you were avoiding for a long time. All those things will come up into the Sarasati. Okay, so this Sarasati for Aquarius will make them work on themselves. Okay, this is the real stuff. This transit of Saturn over your Saturn or over your moon is going to make you work on the self. Okay, this is the ultimate lesson of the Sarasati for you. The ultimate lesson of the Saturn for you. Okay, let's talk about the Pisces sign. The sign of Pisces is going through the most interesting time of this transit. Okay, what I have observed is the sign of Aquarius and the sign of Pisces are going through the best of their timings. Okay, so this is the Pisces sign, Pisces moon or Pisces ascendant, and you will see that Saturn is going through the 12th house. So it's the Sadesati, but at the same time, Rahu is also going through the second house. So it is creating a Papakartari yoga. Kartari nothing but it is having that first house. Okay, but at the same time, these are also the houses of support. The 12th house and the second house support to the first house. More so, the Jupiter is also transiting through the first house. So all these things help Pisces to grow. Okay, the Pisces people will have a lot of mentors coming into their life, changing their life. Okay, all these things can be seen with Jupiter into the sign of Pisces. And when Saturn is in the 12th house is the house of long-term planning. Okay, 5th house is more about the strategy, but 12th house is about the long-term plan. Now, yeah, so you will see that the sign of Pisces is going through the amazing time right now. Okay, so if you are Pisces moon or Pisces ascendant, you will experience the change into this transit, due to this transit, which will bring in a lot of good things in your life as well. Okay, you have to plan for the next 27 years when this cycle will begin. You have to be ready, and you should be ready for the plan. Saturn won't be the 12th year moon for the next 25 to 27 years. Okay, so I want you to plan the next phase of your life, next 30 years of your life right now, financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, everything should be ready. Okay, so now let's take the questions. Saturn in the 12th house for Capricorn ascendant. Vijay Cheshadri. Namaste. What's in store for Leo ascendant? Rohini Pada 4 Nakshatra, Sagittarius ascendant, Uttara Falguni to be a married couple soon. I don't know. But what I believe that if they are getting married, don't even look into the chart right now. Let them enjoy their life. Don't scare them with Manglik dosha or all kinds of dosha or put some fear into them. Instead, if you are really interested, do the thorough analysis, the in-depth analysis of their chart, and more than the points and other things in the chart, the most important is the dasha. Okay, I always look at the dasha of the couple. What are the dates of the dasha? Okay, that is the key for any compatibility, because I always look for the dasha in the compatibility more than anything. Okay, so don't just do this. There are certain things like a Stri Dirgha and all kinds of things you can analyze, the yoni and nakshatra, the distance of a man's nakshatra from the woman's nakshatra, the tara bala, and so on. But more than anything, I have seen that the analysis of the dasha of the couple goes a long way and makes a huge difference in the well-being of the couple. More than anything. Prasad ji, please tell something about Saturn in the 12th house for Capricorn, Moon and Rahu in Aquarius. We already discussed, right? When you have Saturn into the 12th house for Capricorn, as in you have Saturn in Sagittarius, is it? Okay, don't share your birth details here. Don't share your birth details here, please, Hidali. So I have Saturn in the first house of my horoscope in Taurus. How is going to be my second part of Sadhisati? Saturn in the Taurus. So what it has to do with the Sadhisati? I'm Aquarius. Thank you, Pawan. Hello, my friend. I have a Leo rising. If Saturn is in its Mool Trikon, if Saturn is in its Mool Trikon sign Aquarius in my seventh alone, why have all of my relationships have it hard? When will I find true love? Okay, it all depends on your dasha, the time period, and also the chart of the person you are connecting with. But when you have Saturn in its Moon Trikon sign Aquarius in the seventh house, the problem here is I have observed that this problem is with the Leo sign, Leo ascendant, because Leo is self. Okay, it's the light, it's the soul, the sun, and exactly opposite to that is the planet of Saturn, which is the darkness. So it's like whenever you're looking for a relationship, it's like you are sun and you're looking for a darkness. You are never going to see the darkness because you're sun, right? That's why it delays the relationship. That's why you'll feel that, okay, I have all the good qualities in my life. I'm working hard on being good and achieving certain things in my life. Yet I'm not interested in the relationship or somehow not engaged with anybody. Okay, that is because of the 5-11 axis on the sun and the darkness of the Saturn. What is the astrological combination for medical profession? Yes, I'll make a video on education in astrology. How many of you want me to make a video on education in astrology? Just put the yes into the comment section. Okay, so Saturn in the 4th, Moon in the 10th for Libra. How does it affect? When Saturn in the 4th house, you have Saturn placed into the sign of Capricorn, and Moon in the 10th, so your Moon in the Cancer. Okay, so you want to analyze what would be the effect of this transit? Please confirm. Okay, Saturn is transiting my 9th house. Will I travel and relocate? Saturn is transiting through the 9th house. 9th house is the house of travel, but for relocate, you need to see the 12th house and the 4th house, right? 4th house is the house of your home. So we have to see that if you will be able to make home in a foreign land, right? So you want to see the connection between the 4th lord and the 12th lord. 9th lord, no doubt, is the planet of travel, and Saturn also shows it not only shows the delays, but it also shows the long-term stay in the travel. Okay, but will that long-term stay will turn out to be a relocation? For that, you need to see the dasha sequence and see the 12th lord and the 4th lord connection. that will give you a clue about what's happening in your chart. I have my 7th house empty in my chart. What does that generally denote? Okay, when you have a planet, when you have an empty house in the chart, that's the strongest house in your chart. Why? Because if you look at the astrology, astrology is all about the lords, the karakas, and the planets placed in the houses. So whenever we judge a house, we see the karaka of that house, we see the lord of that house, and we see the planets involved and planets placed into that house. But when that house is empty, that house is only analyzed by its lord and its karaka. Okay, we don't have to judge the third element, which is the planets placed into it, which most of the times, as I discussed, will change the dynamic of the the interpretation. Okay, so yes, when you have an empty house, check for the lord and check for the karaka of that house. For the 7th house, the karaka is Venus, the house of relationship, and 7th house is the lord depends upon your ascendant. Okay, first check your ascendant. The 7th from it would be your 7th lord. See what's happening with that 7th lord. Let's say you have Cancer ascendant, then it shows that the Capricorn is into your 10th, the 7th house. So Saturn becomes your 7th lord, and see where that Saturn is going in. Okay, check the aspects, conjunction, exchange, nakshatra, dasha for that 7th house. Okay, then it will give you an idea about what's happening with that house. But yes, a very good question. Empty house shows strong house. It doesn't mean that that area doesn't exist for you. I get a lot of questions. I have 3 empty houses. My 7th house is empty, 10th house is empty, and 3rd house is empty, or whatever. So does that mean I won't have wife and friends and younger brother? I said no. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so check the karakas as well. So empty house is a very good sign into your chart. Saturn is transiting through my 3rd house. We discussed about that. I have Ketu in my 3rd. What would be there for this? What are the astrological combinations to become an astrologer? Yes, for an astrologer, you have to have the connection between the 8th lord and the 2nd lord mostly. Okay, it also have a lot of other combinations, but just to get started, it's about the 2nd house and the 8th house importantly. Effect of Saturn transit on Taurus ascendant, having Saturn in Aquarius as natal placement. Saturn is also the Rakaraka planet here. Rahu Malasha Saturn. Yes, we discussed about Taurus, right? Yes, guys, if you still have any questions, put your questions into the comment box. I'm reading it and I'll be answering them. Okay, keep your questions around the transit so that it will help me to answer, and other people will also be benefited with this. Okay. Do you deny predictions? What combinations in the chart shows that person will not be? Yeah, there are a lot of tricky charts, a lot of charts which don't allow you to make predictions, or if you predict, that goes wrong. Okay, so yes, there are certain combinations. If it's a prashna, then there are rules for prashna as well. I usually do the prashna and see if I'm allowed to access this chart and make predictions. Then only I make predictions. What happens when Jupiter and Saturn in the same house? It's very sensitive to judge Jupiter and Saturn together in any house. I always say this because they have back-to-back dashas for almost 40 years, like a lifetime. Okay, and you always have to see which dasha is playing out right now. Check the lordship and condition. That will give you the idea about what's happening. But yes, Jupiter and Saturn is extremely important conjunction. Two of the biggest planets, the polar opposite, yet the most important planets in the chart. Nothing can be achieved without the guidance and the support from these two biggies. Gem Lagna, Gemini Lagna, Capricorn Moon Shravana, Saturn in Aquarius, Shatabisha. What is the effect of this transit if Saturn in the 4th house, Sun and Moon in the conjuncting 10th house for Libra? I have Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn retrograde facing failures in CA final exam and overweight issue. Is there any solution for this? I'm the ascendant. Yes, you check the dashas, and but it has nothing to do with the retrogression of the planet. Don't get afraid of it. Okay, check the transit for the timing of the exam, and you will have more insights about it. Okay, and for that overweight issue, just DM me. I will help you. Saturn transit in Aquarius, which is the 2nd house for Capricorn. What does Saturn Mars mutual aspect cause? Saturn transit Aquarius. Please let me know the predictions. We are not predicting anything yet. What does Saturn Mars mutual aspect cause? It creates big things in life. Okay, Saturn and Mars conjunction is explosive at times, but is capable of handling and doing big things. Reforms, foundational changes can be seen with Saturn and Mars. Okay, but mutual aspect, if it is like the 4th and the 10th, if it is 7th aspecting each other, the two houses is different. Let's say Saturn is 4th from the Mars. So Saturn will aspect the Mars will aspect the Saturn with the 4th aspect, and Saturn will aspect the Mars with the 10th aspect. Okay, so most important thing for this mutual aspect is the placement of these planets. Okay, but anyhow, when these two planets are connected, are associated with each other, it always shows something big is happening. I like this combination. I've seen this into the people who are shouldering bigger roles in life. What about conjunction of Mercury Venus? Libra ascendant Aries Rashi Rahu in Pisces. Aries Rashi Rahu in Pisces in natal chart. How will be Rahu Ketu transit for me, sir? You can go and check the Aries ascendant. What happens if the 7th lord is retrograde? How it affects the marriage, delay or no marriage? See, the retrogression shows unusual things, and when the 7th lord gets retrograde, it shows unusual things around the marriage. Okay, it can It can be about the timing, it can be about the spouse, something about the marriage, the timing, the spouse, the community of the spouse, something, age difference can also be seen with the retrogression. Okay, but it's extremely powerful. It has nothing to do with the quality of the relationship. I have Jupiter Mahadasha and Venus Antradasha. I have Venus in Ketu in the 5th. Sagittarius, and I have had no mentors, no guidance in career, and facing divorce, what to do? Shwetaji, I would say one thing, open your heart and express yourself. I see that you need to express yourself more and better to have better results in your life. Okay, so just do this and breathe deep and open your heart. Okay, I always recommend you to work on your expressions about how you express yourself in front of the others. It's very important for you. Come out of the routine. Okay, you should not stick to a routine, Shweta. You should come out of a routine and explore certain new things which will help you to understand the new you. Okay, and then you will get the guidance from the mentors. But once you open up, then the mentors will appear in your life. What is the effect of Jupiter-Saturn conjunction when both are retrograde and placed in Taurus? Again, this is extremely sensitive and important conjunction. And again, check the dasha and the moon nakshatra and see if these two dashas are coming back to back. Ali Napi, it seems to me I'm not lucky with every time I send a question and it is missed. See, I took your question and you have no question. In fact, I have already emailed you several times with your queries. You are extremely blessed. Don't say bad things about yourself. Okay, it won't do any good to you. Sending you tons of positive energy and high vibrations. Okay, come out of this negativity. Yes, in fact, in the Suresh Mani, I've already told you about this during the live training last time we had. I've already covered your chart as well. Okay, so yeah, I don't remember exactly what I have predicted, but I don't see anything any challenging with your marriage. Okay, so don't worry about it and don't be afraid of it, and don't put in fear into that thing. I have Venus and Mars, 6th house, Capricorn ascendant. We're talking about Saturn's Mahadashas, Ketu Venus conjunction. So my Rahu is in 3rd house. Okay, it seems we don't have any questions around the Saturn transit into the 12th house. So I'm just closing this screen. See you on the next Friday, 9:30 p.m. with a different topic, with a different presentation. And till then, keep watching Pramanic Astrology and share my videos. And if you want to learn Vedic astrology, join me. Sending you tons of positive energy, sending you high vibrations. See you in the next videos. Namaste.